Hello traders, welcome to Mexico City. That is where I am currently filming. So happy to be here on vacation and to be bringing you guys this video. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is an indicator that I've mentioned before, but I've recently been using this more and more, so I wanted to show you guys. Whenever you're trading, the number one kind of indicator you should always be on the lookout for is something that tells you or predicts if people are going to buy or sell. Controversial opinion, but if your indicator does not tell you if people are going to buy or sell, your indicator is useless. It's not worth it at all. Because the best thing in the world is if I had the knowledge that every single person on the planet's about to buy something, I could make a killing, right? If I know that every single person's about to sell or short a token, I would make a killing by doing it before them. That's exactly what this ratio, what the exchange supply ratio shows, the indicator I'm going to show you guys today. So the exchange supply ratio, what this does is very, very helpful. It gives us a percentage of how much of this token is on all crypto exchanges, all major crypto exchanges, versus the total supply. So when this number is in blue, like 16%, what that basically means is that only 16% of all circulating mana, which is this coin right here, is on exchanges. The other 84% is just in DeFi or in people's wallets, not probably going to be sold. Now, when this value gets very, very high, when we go from something like 16% up to 26%, that's an extreme change. That means that a few whales or a lot of traders have been depositing mana, and it's a very, very bearish signal. So look at this right here. You can see probably the largest change was right here, this where we went from about 15% up to a high of what, like 27, almost 26, 27. Here's what ended up happening. Mana topped out at a price of about $5 and then bottomed out recently at a price of about 0.2. If you had shorted that, I mean, I don't need to say this would have been phenomenal. But how would you have known to have sold this or to have shorted it? Well, when this much supply gets injected into exchanges, it's a really bad sign. When this value gets very, very large, that's likely to mean that people are depositing that coin because they want to sell it. So here's exactly what happened. Mana pumped, as you can see right here. You can see that white line, price pumps. As mana is pumping, whales begin depositing their mana on the exchange. And as whales begin depositing their mana on exchanges, you probably know what they're going to do. Well, what they're doing is these very large holders of mana notice that mana had just gone from a price of, what is that, $1 to like $5 or $4 or $5. And they knew that this was not sustainable. So they deposited their coins in. As you can see, there was a very slow sell-off. And you can see that just kind of dwindling level of selling in the blue line. Now, there are a lot of other coins that this works really, really well on. This is just one example I wanted to show. Quickly, before I go to the next one, a really, really bullish sign was this right here. Mana sold off a little bit. You can see that from here, the white. We went from 1.5 down to like, 0.5, whatever. But the exchange supply ratio was getting very, very low. That means that the massive amount, there was a large amount of mana that was not on exchanges, meaning that it's not able to be sold as easily. Now, this is just basic supply and demand. If there's a lot of something on an exchange, it's not hard to sell. There's a lot of something that's not on an exchange, it can be a bit tougher to sell, especially in very large quantities. Okay, so let's go look at some other ones too. A good example that I want to show you guys is the graph token, because this one has just not been doing well. I want you guys to notice here, the supply has just been increasing. This isn't the overall supply, guys. This is the supply on cryptocurrency exchanges. GRT has been deposited in mass on these exchanges. And you can see we get the same exact thing, price pumped, and then everyone started to deposit their GRT, making me kind of bearish on the graph token. Especially if Bitcoin begins to sell off, this is probably going to plummet. Now, as you can see here, price was just going down as supply was just going up. That's because of devaluation, or also known as inflation. You can use either term. Price is just going to keep selling off because there's just way too much GRT to go around. Super simple to look at. Now, when you're looking at this, one very important note that I do want to make. I think that it's more important to look at tokens that are not on DEXs or in DeFi. The reason for that, these tokens are bought and sold on DeFi exchanges that are not tracked by this website called Cryptoquant. Because they're not tracked, they're probably not as helpful to look at. But other tokens can be much more helpful to look at because these ones are typically traded on major exchanges, that is. So if I just avoid the DeFi ones, it's probably a better way to do it, even though you kind of still can. Okay, so let's go look at some other ones. I want to look at one that I actually haven't looked at yet. I'll look at Gala. So if we look at Gala, it's kind of been a wild ride, but it's still kind of the same story. Just a lot of this has been deposited onto exchanges, and there's just been a lot of selling off. Really, there hasn't been much of a time where this supply was decreasing at all. I mean, the most it decreased was around here. Of course, as price went up, this decreased a little bit because as this decreases, less people are able to sell, more people are able to buy, and price rises. But then you could see the supply just kept going up. And especially here, this is a great indicator. When this exchange supply ratio goes from about 12% up to like 14.4, that was a sign that that's not good. There's really no way that depositing a bunch of Gala onto exchanges was going to be a good thing. And as it was deposited, I mean, price just then sold out very quickly. All right, now let's look at the one that everyone probably wants me to talk about, the best one of all time, Bitcoin. This is the purpose of today's video. I want you guys to see just how extreme this is, just how little Bitcoin there is on exchanges. Bitcoin went from a ratio way back in 2020 of about 16%, where there was a lot of it, and kind of dwindled down. This is buying pressure right here. This is Bitcoin leaving cryptocurrency exchanges, which is a really bullish sign. It kept leaving cryptocurrency exchanges, you can see right here. Super good sign. Then what ended up happening is, we got a few fluctuations. Bitcoin supply on exchanges increased a bit, but then I want you guys to look at what happened here, because this is the most important part of the video by far. Bitcoin sold off very dramatically, as everyone here knows, from about 21.3 down to a low of like 16 something, super low. Look what happened to the exchange supply ratio. So the amount of Bitcoin held on exchanges before was about 13%. After, as price rose, it was at about 11%. With something as large as Bitcoin, that is a massive drop in the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges. So with that being said, this was such a bullish time for Bitcoin, because what had ended up happening is that the least amount of Bitcoin on exchanges ever was right here. You can see it right here. Like, it was very dramatic. And this was a very good sign that Bitcoin was going to rise. I can do this with Ethereum as well. Ethereum might be a bit trickier though, because a lot of it's using DeFi. So a exchange supply ratio might not work because it's not tracking DeFi, but we can still look at Ethereum to see. As you can see here, there's just not that much Ethereum on exchanges, which is a really good sign, because guess what? In order to sell spot, you need to have Ethereum. I mean, that's how it works. You need to hold Ethereum to sell it at spot. And you can see on spot exchanges, it's just dwindling. Like, look at this on spot. This looks very bullish. So with Bitcoin and Ethereum in the medium term, I'm looking at that as very bullish. With things like the Graph token and I think Mana, not really looking as bullish, because just there's too much supply out there. And as many traders should know at this point, when you have too much supply of something, it almost always doesn't really end that well. I also want to look at Sand. I think this one was interesting too. Yeah, this one's interesting too, because it's the same exact pattern. Price goes up, and then a bunch of whales start depositing Sand, as you can see right here with that, and then price sells off. This is really interesting too. This is a great pattern. A large increase in Sand had occurred right here, as you can see. Went from about 14% on exchanges to 18%. As that increase happened, you can see that was a price top. Then you could see that this number began dwindling. That could have been for a lot of reasons. I mean, one reason is it could have just been, it could have been Sand being withdrawn from exchanges, or it could also be Sand selling off into USD. We don't know. But typically, an indicator that you should know, and to really sum up this video, when there's a lot of a token, meaning the blue line's really high, sell-offs tend to happen. When this number drops dramatically, that means that a bunch of the token has already been sold to USD, or a bunch of the token has been withdrawn to other exchanges. Both are pretty bullish. So when you see a big drop like that, where we get boom and then boom, that's a pretty bullish sign. And then when you get a lot of it being deposited, pretty bearish. When you get this kind of pattern, where a lot of it gets deposited and then a slow kind of sell-off in the blue line right there, that's pretty bearish as well. Another great example is right here. just this is kind of unfortunate for the token, but you can see here that price kind of was just consolidating, but we went from about 13% on exchanges up to a high of 17%. A lot of sand was being deposited onto exchanges, and yeah, price sold off. So that's going to be it for this video. There's a lot of ways you can get this information, but the best way is probably Cryptoquant. If you want something much more basic than basically the supply on exchanges divided by the coin circulating, you can also just go to exchange reserve. It's kind of similar. I prefer looking at exchange supply ratio though. So with that, that's going to be it. This is probably, strangely, one of the best long-term strategies that I know of, because you're just tracking supply and demand. And if you want to be a spot investor, this is a great way to do it. And also a great way to do it would be to couple this with the course that I'm going to link below. With that, happy trading, start tracking, and maybe you'll become a whale. See you guys.